So Francis Ainger, who developed the whole Ainger estate, would have developed this area. But it started off really as a merchant's house, and that would have been the 1720s. And even before that house was built in the 1720s, there were buildings there before that. But what they were, we've no idea. And then around the 1830s, it became commercial, starting off with a lamp maker's shop, then various bakers and other uses, and then early 20th century was a dairy and bicycle shops and gramophone shops. It's for modern use, so it has to change and evolve. It has evolved anyway since the very beginning.
My dad was born in Leitrim, and he decided to leave Leitrim when he was about 17, and he moved up to Dublin, and he quickly got a job in the Central Dairy. At the time it was owned by a woman who lived, I think it was on the old Ballymun Road, and I think the woman retired, and when she retired he had the option of taking over the shop, so he took that option, and he remained living above the shop for a good few years, I think until he met my mum. I worked there from the age of 12 to 18, I think, every Sunday, and as I got older I got to know the people there a bit more, and I got to know the staff. There was 3 women who worked for my dad, and one of the women in particular I really got on well with. Her name was Peggy Maguire. She was such a lovely woman. She was well into her 60s, I'd say maybe 70 as well, and she had the most beautiful set white grey hair, and she always wore pearls and a twin set. She was just lovely, and we used to always have a great laugh together when we worked together in the shop. And I remember sometimes I'd just pull out things from the shelves and try to sell them. Like, so for example, you might have a little look through the shelf and you'd find a dusty old tin of tuna or something, so I'd take it out and put it on the counter and put a little sign on it saying, "Please buy me, I'm really delicious," that kind of thing, which used to get a kick out of. But I think one day I took it a step too far, and it was just after Princess Diana had died, and I probably wasn't as sensitive to the needs of those grieving as I should have been at that age. I was just caught up in myself and thinking it was funny, but I could have pictured Princess Diana out of the Sunday paper, and I stuck it in the shop window with a sign saying, "Have you seen this woman?" And when Peggy came in, she was absolutely horrified. I thought it was really funny at the time, but she was horrified, so that was our one and only row, I think. My dad loved St. Patrick's Day, and make a big fuss. He loved having all of his children around him as well. So St. Patrick's Day was the day, there was 5 of us in the family, like 5 kids, so that was the day we'd all get dressed up and we'd have our shamrock on and the ribbons in our hair and the whole malarkey, and we'd go into the shop. And it was just brilliant as a child, because back then the parade went down George's Street. It doesn't anymore, but it did then, and the staff in the shop would work in conjunction with the guards, making sure that we had a really good view. So we'd have like the boxes to stand up on, and we always had a great view from the street. There has been one major event that happened, but it's quite a sad event, because my dad actually had a heart attack in the shop.
Oh, really?
But I think, even though it sounds really sad, I think he passed away in the place where he was happiest. So I think if the building could speak, I might say something along those lines, because he'd been there for so long. So he was there when he was 17 and he died when he was 78, so it was quite a long time, and he was where he was happiest when he finally passed away, so I think that would be quite significant. So we just left the shop for a few years, and then my mum got quite ill with cancer, so just between all of that happening, the shop was left vacant. So it was when she died in 2004, we officially inherited the shop, and then we started looking towards getting planning permission, or permission to change the shop from the type of building it was at the time, which was derelict basically. It had been left for so long, and it hadn't been in a very good state anyway, even when my dad had it, because he'd only used the ground floor, which was the Central Dairy, and upstairs had never been changed since he'd moved out of it when he was, I don't know, in his late 30s. It was just really sad to kind of walk by it every day and see the shutter pulled down and graffiti drawn on it, and you know, knowing that my dad loved it so much and it was such a huge part of our family, it was hard to see it in that state. So we were very eager to work towards getting something sorted out for it and seeing it being used as a shop again. He loved innovation, and he loved to see young people with a bit of spark in them, and he'd love to see a new shop there for sure. And I'd say he's also probably secretly glad it's not a newsagent's, because he wouldn't want anyone to take the shine off him. So, like, even though my dad's been dead since I was 19, we don't really speak about it that much. I mean, we'd speak about the shop, but we were always quite removed from it emotionally. So I suppose this is the time where as a family, we've sat down and talked about things, and we're reminiscing, and it felt really good to hand over the keys and see life in the building again, because as I said, it's just difficult when you see something that was such a big part of your family, when you see it rotting away essentially. So at least we now know that there's somebody in there and they love the building. The building's under a conservation order, and I do think it's important. It's the last building on the block. We applied for planning permission. We were the last people to apply on that block, so every other building has been changed significantly. So I think it's important to retain those kind of features, because I suppose it tells a story. So when we're gone in hundreds of years' time, like, and our families are gone and the stories of my dad and whoever else takes over the shop after us are gone, the building remains, and the building will be able to tell its own story.